You want to be the best version of yourself. But what would you need to do in order to achieve being the best? What does the best even mean? By what standards do you judge yourself? Which values make you the best? If the Flash says he wants to be the best version, he could mean that he wants to be faster. Batman's best version could imply him being stronger or smarter. It's these type of questions that kept Nietzsche up at night. Hi, my name is Matt Smilix, and today we are looking into the ubermensch philosophy of Nietzsche and how it applies to some of our beloved DC characters such as the Joker. To do so, I will first explain the basics of Nietzsche's philosophy in a nutshell using Superman and Lex Luthor as an example. For a long time, Christianity was the norm in Europe. Humanity was submitting to a higher authority and following their orders or the orders of a god. During the Enlightenment, there was a rise in atheism and religion could no longer support our moral values. Mankind had to make them for themselves. This could lead to the degradation of humanity, leading to the last man. This is the epitome of mediocre. They don't strive for anything great, they pursue comfort and avoid danger. They are nihilists who despise action and they don't have any meaning in their lives. The last man has false beliefs and is depressed. They distract themselves with meaningless entertainment. The idea of God can no longer provide values. Now, mankind has the power to create their own definitions of right or wrong and good and bad. We can create our own values. And this is where the ubermensch comes into play. The ubermensch is more beyond humanity as it currently exists. They can create new values. To Nietzsche, life wasn't just a precursor to heaven or hell. The ubermensch would love their lives as it is and they'd feel grateful for each moment. The ubermensch doesn't necessarily want to be at the top of the hierarchy. Sure, the ubermensch can be physically strong, although strong people have existed since the beginning of time, and Nietzsche wrote that the ubermensch does not yet exist. Being at the top of the food chain isn't enough. They want to conquer the world, yet they also have to want to change it. This includes destroying old values. The lion part of the ubermensch wants to reject others' values and prioritize their own will. By rejecting those values, there is room for new values. This requires creativity, joy, playfulness, and even innocence, like a child. This all implies that the ubermensch is a little bit rebellious. They reject authority. They refuse to submit their will to others. They will decide for themselves what is valuable and what is right or wrong. On the other hand, the ubermensch also has love for life and for mankind. They want to rescue humanity from nihilism. To better understand life, and in order to overcome themselves, the ubermensch must seek out pain and suffering. Without suffering, we wouldn't question things or think critically. As a psychologist, I see this as coming out of your comfort zone. For example, if you're socially anxious, you will find comfort in staying at home where you don't need to speak to anyone and you can just do whatever you want. It's by facing your fears and stepping outside of your comfort zone that you will learn and find joy. So, in general, the ubermensch is someone who affirms life. They determine their own values and become who they truly are. This includes their flaws and weaknesses. Two elements that Nietzsche added were slave and master morality. Masters are strong and powerful. They create morality and values. Master morality is active and seeks creative expression of self-generated power. The master morality is sentiment, while the slave morality is based on resentment. They devalue what the master values. Master morality originates in the strong, while slave morality originates in the weak. Because slave morality is a reaction to oppression, it vilifies its oppressors. Slave morality is characterized by pessimism and cynicism. Slave morality is reactive against an oppressive force and they seek relief. slave morality is created in opposition to what master morality values as good. In short, masters say yes to life, they affirm life, while slaves tend to say no. They stay in the comfort zone and don't seek out different experiences. I will explain this with an example later on in the video. Nietzsche encourages people to be noble. Masters would be nobler than a slave, although noble people can still hold slavish values. A noble person sees their life as a project. They choose their own goals and work on them no matter what society thinks. The ubermensch is the embodiment of the noble way of life. Now, the ubermensch translated means the Superman, or at least in more recent translations. However, our Superman, Clark Kent, is not an example of the ubermensch. Superman lives according to the morals, values, and laws of Earth and humanity. Superman does nothing to destroy our values and create new ones. In my interpretation, he doesn't even try to be the best version of himself. Rather, he is the best version of himself that he could be in the presence of humanity. Superman follows our existing values and does good for humanity, but he's super strong in most aspects. He could be a god, yet he isn't. He keeps himself in check. Superman could do anything he wants. He could have taken over the world and lived on his terms. Yet, he lives his life according to a moral code that's instilled in him. However, Lex Luthor does not. Lex is a mad scientist and scheming businessman who has an antagonizing relationship with Superman. Grant Morrison once said in an interview, "He's the part of us that's the most evil, the most human, and the most brilliant. He's great. He's just really bad." The creation of new values is based on the claim that there are no grounds upon to justify any action in the absence of a commanding authority, such as a god. Remember, God is dead. It's up to us to define what is valuable. Lex finds it important to focus his efforts on correcting humanity's aspiration of the false idol Superman. What is good? All that heightens the feelings of power, the will to power, power itself in man. What is bad? All that proceeds from weakness. What is happiness? The feeling that power increases, that a resistance is overcome. Schopenhauer saw the world as a product of a will to live. However, Nietzsche argues that if living things only had a will to live, we wouldn't put ourselves at risk, and people do that all the time. Firefighters run into burning buildings to put out fires and save lives. Stuntmen do crazy shit for a living. In the DC universe, superheroes and villains put their lives at risk just to achieve their goals. We seek status through the will to power. Bruce Wayne trained for years. He learned different combat styles. This is a way of manifesting the will to power. He subjugated his body to the demands of the will that he could be stronger or faster or fitter, all to keep the promise he made to his parents. If he failed, it would lead to anger or a loss of self-esteem. The will to power keeps us going. It's like a driving force. Nietzsche once said, "To those human beings who are of any concern to me, I wish suffering, desolation, sickness, ill treatment, indignities. I wish that they should not remain unfamiliar with profound self-contempt, the torture of self-mistrust, the wretchedness of the vanquished. I have no pity for them, because I wish them the only thing that can prove today whether one is worth anything or not, that one endures." We use the will to power to seek out goals and challenges, to master them, and to become a better person in the process. The will to power lies at the heart of self-overcoming. Lex Luthor lives by the will to power. Lex fought his way to the top to become the head of one of the most powerful industries in the DC universe. He is driven by ambition and hatred for Superman. He is going above and beyond to destroy the Man of Steel, creating supersuits and studying kryptonite. Lex transcends beyond humanity's limitations, while Superman abides within the limits of what we consider right and wrong. Superman's power is there because he was born on a different planet. Yet, Lex's power is an expression of will. In the distance, we can hear an evil but familiar laugh. Yes, we have finally gotten to the part where we discuss the Joker, the clown prince of crime. As I mentioned earlier, the ubermensch creates its own values. We can see the ubermensch as an alien that came to Earth. The alien may behave in a way that we would deem as bad. If an alien picks up a car and throws it in a building, we would argue that that's wrong and a bad thing to do. However, the alien does not measure its actions against our moral code. It measures its actions within itself, its own values. The alien or ubermensch is guided by his will to power. The Joker is the alien in this scenario. He isn't motivated by money or fame, he seeks chaos. He doesn't care how much he damages the city, he doesn't care what society thinks, he just seeks out Batman. He wants Batman's full attention. That's his will to power. And it makes him unstoppable. No matter how many times Batman drops Joker off at Arkham Asylum, he will always come back. Arguably, the Joker does bad things while Batman does good deeds. But Nietzsche would disagree. Helping others soothe pain doesn't make you an ubermensch. In order to become the Superman, one needs to experience pain to learn and overcome it. This is guided by the will to power. Once the pain or suffering has been overcome, the ubermensch is no longer afraid of this pain. They can feel it and even cause it as part of its will to power. In Thus Spoke Zarathustra, Nietzsche wrote, "In all commanding there appeared to me to be an experiment and a risk. And the living creature always risks himself when he commands. Yes, even when he commands himself. Then also must he make amends for his commanding. He must become judge and avenger and victim of his own law." Joker puts his own life on the line when he creates one of his plans to fight Batman. He evidently loses, but his will to power makes him come back every single time. And he even does it with a smile and a good laugh. According to Nietzsche's decay science, cheerfulness is a reward for a long seriousness. The process of self-overcoming can transform the ubermensch from seriousness to comedy, happiness, or joy. Joy is something we see in a Joker all the time. No matter how many times he fails, he accepts it and moves on. This is similar to the concept of amor fati, which means the love of fate. According to Nietzsche, when we accept the darkness, we can learn about life. Joker knows it's his fate to be beaten by Batman, but this fate doesn't make him afraid. He loves it. It's his will to power to fight Batman again and again and again. In Batman Arkham City, he knows he has a deadly disease. He accepts his fate and decides to have his fun with it. He uses his fate to taunt Batman. He even shares his fate with Batman by sharing the deadly disease. So, Joker can be seen as an ubermensch. Values aren't necessarily good or bad. It depends on which standards you use to judge someone. He doesn't follow a higher authority, which allows him to lack feelings of guilt or remorse. In order to become an ubermensch, one must destroy existing values to create their own. Joker does this all the time. He lives his life the way he wants. He doesn't care what anyone thinks about him or his actions. He has his own values that he upholds, while also overcoming himself in his fight against Batman, using the will to power as a guide, while also accepting his fate. As I explained earlier, the master morality has the terms good and bad. Master morality creates and defines values. The master is a noble man, and if they define themselves as good, then all things associated with them are good. They create judgments based on actions. There's no reference to a higher authority such as religious law. There is no objective good. If an action has a positive result for the noble man, then it is a good action. Joker sees himself as a master. He defines what he does through actions, and he doesn't view his actions through a higher morality or authority. Actions that are an advantage to him are good. Batman would fit in with the slave morality. He is driven by a higher purpose. He seeks justice and is driven by an unwritten code of conduct. It's because of this code that he defines Joker as evil. This could also be why Batman doesn't kill the Joker. Batman deems Joker's actions as evil. He wants to be a noble man, so committing the same actions would make him evil as well. Ressentiment or resentment is part of the slave morality. It quite literally means vengeance, something we all know Batman embodies. In The Batman, he even calls himself vengeance. According to Nietzsche, the slave revolt in morality begins when ressentiment itself becomes creative and gives birth to values. In order for resentment to exist, there needs to be a hostile external world such as Gotham City. Gotham is a place filled with crime, which are actions that the slave morality could deem as bad or evil. Nietzsche describes the man of resentment as neither upright nor naive, nor honest and straightforward with himself. His soul squints. His spirit loves hiding places, secret paths and back doors. Everything covert entices him as his word, his security, his refreshment. He understands how to keep silent, how not to forget, how to wait, how to be provisionally self-deprecating and humble. It's almost like Nietzsche has met the Dark Knight himself. Batman shares a dual identity with Bruce Wayne. They can never fully be themselves. Batman seeks the shadows and is driven by the inability to forgive and forget the death of his parents. Nietzsche added that this type of man needs to believe in a neutral, independent subject prompted by an instinct for self-preservation and self-affirmation in which every lie is sanctified. Batman is guided by a need for justice. He is always protecting the innocent or upholding the law. I argued that Batman wouldn't kill the Joker, but have you ever wondered what would happen to Gotham if Batman did kill the Joker? Well, then you're in luck, because you can watch this video next. With that said, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!